Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all made it on board because we were getting the heck out of there so we could get out to 40,000 light years. If you are if you made the flight, please take the time to check about the cabin. You may unbuckle your seatbelts, and we are now sitting at 40,000 light years and ready to rock. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight, and hope you're having a great weekend, a great Saturday. And yeah, that's the executive producer over there. He's ready to stand by as we begin tonight's show. Good evening, everyone. Oh, boy, I'm fired up. And yeah, playing with the kitty. Good evening, Indigo. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. Glad to hear you're fired up. We're going to fire some things up.
Yeah. We're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. And I thought that would be a great time for you to be on board and here with us tonight. So I think it's going to be fun.
Thanks for having me.
By the way, I am still absolutely in awe of the response we've gotten from the last show on Wednesday night. Have you looked at the YouTube channel in the last?
It's amazing. Yeah, that took off like a turbocharged rocket ship. Gene Conceiving was in stellar form that night, and what an odyssey of exploration we had.
That was absolutely fantastic. And I've had several friends that have never seen the show before were asking me. I've gotten a few phone calls over the past couple of days. People are starting to wake up, but every now and then I get people that call me up and say, "Hey, what's going on? What's happening?" And you sit there and go, "Well, what isn't happening?" Okay. And well, what I did was, the last couple of days, what I've been saying, hey, go check out our last show. Here's the link. Go look at it, and then call me after you've watched it. And a real good friend of mine, she called me up and was asking about what was going on and different things. I said, here, watch the video here. If you want to get into some of the stuff that you definitely are not going to hear about on the mainstream news, this is a good place to start, because the probability of what we discussed the other night is quite high, as you would probably agree, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene has a way of taking a big view picture of things and bringing specifics into it, which all tie together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's genius, really.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed having Gene on, and we'll not wait another year before we bring him back, I'm sure. Anyway, this friend of mine that I sent her the link to the show, and she was watching. She might be watching tonight. I don't know. I told her that we're going to be doing the early edition tonight, so she doesn't have to stay up until 2 a.m. To watch the show, or starting at 11, obviously. And so she might be listening, and it was quite interesting because her first question to me was, aliens? Do you really think that they're real? And I said, well, I put it very, very high on the probability chart, because do you really think that we're the only ones in the universe, right?
Well, considering that we've found, I'm not sure whether it's comets or meteors, but they actually have amino acids that have fallen on Earth. They have organic matter on them. Mm-hmm. Well, there's building blocks of life coming from outer space. That's just, not an insignificant detail.
Mm-hmm. So the idea that then people start to say, well, why don't we hear about this? Why don't we know more about this. What is the whole reason that they have decided that this isn't important enough to, prepare the American people for? Instead of basically ignoring the entire issue, bouncing around it, putting out Hollywood movies and what have you, that yeah, all kinds of science fiction out there is addressing the issue, right?
Yep.
I mean, some of the most popular shows on TV, the ones that some of the biggest movies. Look at I watched the movie. I'm drawing a brain fart.
What if some of those shows were actually rooted in something anchored in little bits of fact here and there?
Oh, it's just somebody's Hollywood imagination that comes with all that stuff.
I say that if we can conceive of something, then there's a way for us to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it can exist in the mind of a human, then we'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow. Someone said, I'm going to make a motor car, and he found a way.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, we're going to harness this water in this river and generate electricity from it. Now that's a pretty that's a pretty daunting task. If you look at a raging river and you say, how am I going to get electricity out of this river without electrocuting myself? And when they built the Hoover Dam, that was an amazing project, a tremendous civil engineering project. They figured out how to do it. If we can find a good trick on the headset. If we can find a way, if we can see that the moon is out there. Now, I know there are people that think we never went to the moon. I won't weigh in either way on that. But there's a way to get there if you can see it.
Wait a minute. We just sent, they were standing up and they were clapping and everything. Hey, we just got a thing on Mars.
Yep. Okay. Thumper, time travel. If you can conceive of the idea of traveling through time, isn't there a way to do it? There's got to be a way. We live in an amazing world. It's more amazing than certain powers that are in control of education would ever let us know how amazing it is.
Well, how did they get the book, The Amazing Adventures of Baron Trump, published back in the early 1900s?
Yes. Wait, how did that just drop out of the sky?
And his dog Pence.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. What are the chances?
So, and the other things that we keep running across that are just way beyond the idea of being a coincidence. All right. And the movie I was thinking about the other, that's why I had to run away. Avatar.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Amazing movie. Extremely popular. Two of the most beloved TV shows out there, Star Trek and Stargate, turned into multi-million-dollar cult classics, I guess they like to call them,
Yep.
Science fiction cult classics, all of them. And but then you have some just other crazy things that they will put out there on TV that people will believe. And I've got a couple of pictures here I want to just share with some folks here. Check this out. I'd rather be a conspiracy theorist than support whatever the F this represents.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
That's sort of unnerving.
That's like in your face, right?
That's jarring to my sensibilities.
Okay, now, what about this one? The Rostag fire, fake Capitol Hill attack, takeover of mass radio, takeover of social media. right? Here we have Hitler. Here we have this crew. And then we have assumed power illegitimately.
Yep.
And we've got this nutball supposedly at the helm of the United States of America right now. Give me a flippin' break.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then, you know, and then we have this kind of nonsense that everybody is buying into, running around.
Good one.
Saying, you know, you got to wear a mask. Oh, wait a minute. You got to wear 2 masks. Oh, wait a minute. There's no influenza, but everybody is dying from COVID.
There's just this thing where it seemed nice teeth on the dog. He brushes every day.
Yes.
Things creep into our reality, into our consciousness. And it's like, wait a minute. I kind of put up a fence and I say, nope. But a lot of people don't. It just slowly oozes into the social mainstream somehow. And
well, this next picture is going to ooze all over you. Check this out.
Oh no. Oh wow. Yeah.
Okay.
The mask. The dog is in a sterile suit. Oh my goodness.
This dog is sitting here going, my master is a putz.
And the dog walker. Yep.
Okay. But we can't believe that there's possibility of aliens in the universe. We can't conceive of the idea of free energy from space. People just have a hard time, you know, grasping all of these things. But, you know, the preceding pictures speak for themselves, you know?
Even though way back, I don't know, 8 decades ago, Nikola Tesla demonstrated being able to resonate with the earth and harness the electricity from the earth by way of resonance and create a 1 minute long standing lightning bolt in Colorado, where he did his experimentation. He showed that. He showed gigantic electrical power just naturally existing inside the earth. It was right there. But you've got to have a meter on. You've got to have a smart meter on your house. How many kilowatts do you kilowatt hours? Cents per kilowatt hour? Right.
Oh, I've got so many things on the stack of stuff. We only have a 2-hour show tonight, unfortunately, but we're gonna race through as much of this as we possibly can.
Gonna keep the engines fired up on impulse power.
Oh, we're gonna do it. And what makes all of this possible? What makes all of this silliness and all of this possible? Well, I'm going to use this video here as a just to kind of get your brain moving here on this stuff, because overcoming fear of the government. Check it out. This from Weiss and Associates. It's about 10 minutes long. And, just in general, I mean, this is just in general. Check this out.
Weiss and Associates presents Overcoming the Fear of the U.S. Government.
When the people fear their government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Thomas Jefferson.
Fear is a built-in genetic trait designed by the DNA within us all to either fight or take flight when situations arise that cause or have the potential to create harm to one's person. Most Americans are familiar with this fight or flight syndrome, and many have it as an issue in dealing with the Bureau of the Department of the Treasury known as the Internal Revenue Service. What contributes to the impulse of fear is a good starting point for this discussion. Some are rather basic if you see a nearby dangerous animal, gunfire, or a burning building, but that's not the scope for this presentation. However, most Americans immediately tense up with the mention of the IRS. You go to your mailbox and find a letter from them. Your heart responds to this fight-or-flight syndrome by increasing the heart rate. You might even start to sweat or even hyperventilate. The fear in that moment is very real, but it's not something that your physical senses can deal with. The fear grabs some as their minds race to consider all the negative aspects of, what do they want of me now? Thoughts may arise about the IRS invading your privacy, taking away your property, or stealing money from your bank account. You feel helpless. They make you feel as if they could do anything they want to you. The fear makes you cower and feel that you're a slave in your own country that's supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. Then you get angry because you distrust the IRS and government institutions at large. Acting out of fear or anger will likely not produce a positive outcome for you. But you must realize that as all power corrupts, it's up to you alone to insist on your freedom as a sovereign American. It's natural that government, like any other corporation or entity, looks to grow its influence. Perhaps famed investor and best-selling author Doug Casey said it best in this interview.
One is America, which is a marvelous idea, a unique idea, fantastic idea. I'm extremely pro-American, but America has ceased to exist. It's been replaced by the United States, which is just another of 225 nation states that covers the face of the earth like a skin disease at this point. So we ought to make that distinction, and people shouldn't conflate these two things, the ideal with the political reality. So what you've got to do is get a lot of your assets out of the control of the government that thinks it owns you, because it's treating you like a milk cow now. And as what happened in Zimbabwe and Yugoslavia shows, if they think they need to, they'll treat you like a beef cow.
If you're a person who wishes to be neither milked nor slaughtered, you have to become educated on how to stay out of the traps that government sets to ensnare you into their schemes. Perhaps you've even heard of someone commenting about fighting unfounded IRS claims with some success, but at the end of the discussion, you remember hearing the comment that they had better watch out or their email address might soon become dumbamerican@alcatraz.com. You begin to sink into your chair and drink a cold one to try to relax from all the stress. This may have been your experience or something close to it, as many Americans are so full of angst that they just open their wallets and send in whatever they can to keep the voracious wolf from coming to the front door. For some, they just get so mad that they stop filing and paying with no plan of action, but have that nagging fear in the back of their mind that it will never simply go away. So they look for gurus who claim that they can help them out of their fear. All the descriptions to this point address those who have, at some point in their lives, filed and paid a Form 1040 U.S. individual income tax return. The IRS letter started with the greeting phrase, "Dear Taxpayer." So for U.S. taxpayers, if they don't file or pay, the fear is very real and the IRS seems larger than life. Still, in the quiet moments, away from friends and family, doubt creeps into the mind. You put your head in your hands and just shudder to think about what might happen. Do you see yourself in any of these kinds of situations or emotions? Most Americans certainly do, and the fear becomes contagious if you don't know what to do next. From a slightly different approach, you find stated in the Bible at Hosea 4:6 the statement attributed to God actually saying to a prophet, "My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge." This is a start in that the word shows that you need knowledge, but it doesn't state where to locate that knowledge. Remember, this can be not only spiritual in context, but also for use in everyday life activities. The purpose for mentioning this is to help you see that your very first step is to find the knowledge for the issue you have before you, whatever that issue may be. The next step is to realize the true nature of the federal income tax in regard to the jurisdiction within which it is only applicable. Our website goes into further detail as to the particulars of how legislation was created to tax the majority of Americans. As a very brief synopsis, the idea of the federal income tax was struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1895. Nearly 2 decades later, President William H. Taft pitched the idea again, proclaiming it as a tax upon the federal government itself and not on sovereign Americans. The skilled lawyer got the measure passed, and later, provisions made it possible for those sovereign Americans to volunteer to become taxpayers. I bet all this information was in school or in direct correspondence with government employees. You can view our videos on jurisdiction and the revocation of election, as well as many others, by clicking on their links located in the resource center of our website. We'll not go into too much detail about those individual events in this video, as we wish to stay on topic regarding the power to overcome your fear of government reprisal. This fear can only be overcome by the acquisition of knowledge regarding a particular topic. Remember, it was once considered heresy to insist that the earth was not flat and was not the center of the universe. Just because those in power tried to use force to punish those who didn't believe in the official narrative didn't make them correct. Might doesn't make right. The truth comes out only when those who've sought and obtained it stubbornly insist on focusing on facts. The government acknowledges that the federal income tax is voluntary to those who don't derive income from federal property. The voluntary part of entering the U.S. tax club was the submission of filing your first Form 1040 income tax return. The important part to keep in mind is that the U.S. Congress also provided for a way for those volunteers to lawfully exit that tax club. Of course, it behooves them to not draw attention to its existence, nor where the statute can be found. Weiss and Associates provides the methodology for all American nationals to leave the U.S. tax club with the blessing of the Congress. We have well over 3,000 clients, so our knowledge base on workable solutions is vast. Using federal laws against the national government fraud and deception toward the very people it was established to protect is the only way to put the fight portion of the fight or flight syndrome into effect. The revocation of election ends the claim the IRS has against you, but would never tell you anything about. The choice is yours. Revoke the election and keep your hard-earned money. Pull out of the banking system, which is ostensibly in the control of the national government. Enjoy the lifetime financial benefit from all the money you earn if you don't derive income that's effectively connected with the performance of the functions of a public office. American nationals are lawful non-taxpayers and can never truly be called tax cheats, tax protesters, or tax evaders, as the IRS statutes simply do not apply. Understanding jurisdiction is key. When you have facts and the law on your side, it's much easier to act with confidence and resist the entrapments of those who continually wish to influence your thoughts and behaviors. Sometimes those machinations are immoral and even illegal. We invite you again to view, in particular, the videos on jurisdiction and the revocation of election. Our resource center contains a concise library of study material that can help you attain true financial freedom and escape the plantation that is the national government's network of schemes. Please email us at bilateral@gmx.com if you wish to move forward on the revocation of election, or if you have any other questions about federal income taxation in the United States. Thanks for watching, and give a thumbs up to this video if you found it informative. Also, we ask that you subscribe to our channel and even distribute these videos to those in your circle of like-minded friends.
Now, are you one of our like-minded friends? I hope so, because the whole idea of that was to make a few points for the rest of tonight's presentation. And we're not going to dive into the IRS tonight, but I will give you a link to that video, and you can go check that out. These folks have an excellent website. But the whole point of that video for everyone out there tonight is the idea of the use of fear and doubt and propaganda. If it weren't for that, there would be no such thing as the IRS and so many other things that we have to put up with, right?
Right in their language, taxpayer. The programming starts right there. You are a taxpayer. And then more programming starts. The Internal Revenue Service. That's not a service to me. What service am I receiving here? Service to someone else, right?
Who are we in service for? Them. They're not serving us. Well, they're serving us a plate of BS. That's what they're serving us. So the whole idea, because this friend that called me tonight, so was asking about the aliens, was also, you know, talking about, we got into some of this tech stuff and everything else. But the whole thing boils down to the control of information. One of the things in that video that I thought was really, really a very important point is the guy was sitting there saying, it's a lack of knowledge. Where do you go to get the truth? How do you find the truth? That is what so many people out there are asking. Where do you get the truth? Why is it that we had Gene on here Wednesday night and he just laid out a bunch of stuff there? And, you know, look at this fact. Look at this. Here's a fact. Here's a 4.5 earthquake at 10 kilometers deep. And then here's another one.
Here's another one.
And here's another one.
And another one.
And another one.
That just doesn't happen. What are the chances of that? They're not, right?
Yeah. They're happening all over the world. And it's what's going on here? What is going on here?
The thing of it about getting information is what are we getting for truth? Are we getting curated truth? Are we getting filtered truth? Excuse me. Are we getting truth that, you know, someone has an agenda to curate it in such a way as to not have you learn certain things, or not have me learn other things, or to make me think that I learned something, but really they didn't give me all the pieces to the puzzle, did they? They left out a few significant pieces without which we would never be able to find that puzzle. So Gene comes in and he just says, I got a whole bunch of facts here. This is what I got, you know, lay all these pieces out and let's see how these puzzle pieces fit together. And he's not curating. He's just giving a kind of a thought dump of information to us. It was fantastic. And so where do we get our truth? And what are we calling truth?
Exactly. And, you know, just to kind of set the stage a little bit more here, the case of the missing 13th Amendment to the Constitution. Anybody, how many folks out there have heard about this? The 13th Amendment. It's not the one that you see in your copy of the Constitution, I'll guarantee it. But you've heard the stories, right? You've heard the stories, right, Indigo?
My mute button, sorry. Yeah, I have, yes.
Okay. Well, a few years ago, a group of Iowa Republicans claimed the legitimate 13th Amendment to the Constitution was missing. The debate is part of a historical detective story with some surprising twist that is still taking place. The Daily Beast did a fairly extensive feature on the missing amendment in 2010, which didn't feature a cloaked Freemason stealing the amendment because it had a secret treasure map printed on it. Instead, the debate between the historians and the conspiracy buffs is about an amendment that was almost ratified in 1812. Remember that year. I think there's an overture, the 1812 overture that has, you know, some significance to that year. That would have been the 13th Amendment, bumping back the current 13th Amendment, which was ratified on this day in 1865, whatever day that they did this story. Anyway, and abolished slavery to the position of the 14th Amendment. Writer Jerry Adler's 2010 explanation of the 13thers controversy is pretty detailed and covers both sides of the issue, which isn't new, but got a big burst of publicity thanks to the Iowa GOP's 2010 platform. The Iowa Republicans didn't want the 13th Amendment banned. They just wanted the original one reintroduced for approval. That missing proposal was called the Titles of Nobility Amendment, or TONA. It sought to ban any American citizen from receiving any foreign title of nobility or receiving foreign favors, such as a pension, without congressional approval. The penalty was loss of citizenship. It was an extension of Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, which doesn't allow a public office holder to receive a foreign title or similar honors without consent of Congress. Today, the idea of constitutional controversy about the royals may seem kind of silly, but in 1812, the United States was fighting the British and had a rocky relationship with France. The fear of both nations using noble titles as bribes, along with pensions from a foreign government, was persistent, and both the Senate and the House easily passed the TONA and passed it on to the states. By late 1812, a total of 12 states had approved the 13th Amendment, and ironically, it needed a 13th state to become ratified. As the War of 1812 escalated, the TONA faded away as an issue and was never ratified, or so we think. In the 1980s, Adler says a researcher started finding copies of the Constitution from the pre-Civil War era that had TONA listed as the 13th Amendment. The premise was that Virginia's legislature had approved the amendment in 1819, but somehow it was never listed as accepted by the federal government. Further research revealed that President James Monroe asked his Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams, to confirm that TONA was never ratified, which he did. As the story goes, the editor of the 1815 book of statutes, John Colvin, couldn't determine if the TONA Amendment had been ratified, so he included it in the book with an explanatory note. Then an official version of the Constitution was given to the congressional members that included the TONA as the 13th Amendment as an apparent misprint. That triggered a request for Monroe and Adams to verify that the amendment hadn't been ratified. The United States statutes at large wasn't reprinted until 1845. So the mistake became part of textbooks, state publications, and newspapers. Smith said for decades. So a whole generation of Americans lived during a time when the phantom 13th Amendment existed in some publications. And with any kind of luck, you could probably find a TONA version of the Constitution at a flea market. Silversmith also said Virginia's Senate rejected the TONA on February 14th, 1811, based upon information in its records. But an official letter or note from the Virginia legislature couldn't be found several years later. But how could the founding fathers and their heirs become so confused by a handful of amendments? President John Adams waited 3 years to acknowledge the 11th Amendment as law, and it took Secretary of State James Madison, the father of the Constitution, 3 months to recognize the 12th Amendment as effective law. Part of the issue was the lack of a process for states to communicate to the federal government that they had voted in favor of an amendment. Also, the number of states kept changing, which added more confusion to the ratification process. Today, TONA supporters have made several legal challenges to get the original 13th Amendment recognized. The issue hadn't been taken up by the Supreme Court, and Silversmith wrote that a 2005 district court ruling said that based on Article 5 of the Constitution, the inclusion of TONA in published documents doesn't make an amendment. That hasn't kept the debate over TONA off the internet, and there are many websites that claim it is the legitimate 13th Amendment, and there's no expiration date for the TONA Amendment, which means that it can be introduced to 35 more states that didn't vote on it originally. It may seem that preposterous that an amendment from the early 1800s could still become law today, but the 27th Amendment was proposed in 1789 and finally approved in 1992. Okay. So we've heard that the whole idea of the War of 1812, when they came in and they burned the Capitol building down, or the White House or whatever, they went in, they ravaged Washington D.C., right? And a lot of documents were supposedly lost back then, and the 13th Amendment was one of them. That's one of the stories I've heard. Have you heard any there, Indy?
No, I haven't heard any stories about it, but I can say that it would be quite plausible for certain powers that be not to want the reinstitution of a 13th Amendment and restrict those powers for purpose of bribery, etc., of people today. They would want to keep that so that they could have their little thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're in an uphill battle, and I think it starts at state level.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, and that brings us around to kind of the final, well, not the final, but the document that has, why can't we get the straight truth from our government? Why is it, yes, politics, everybody's going, oh, it's just the politics. These are politicians. They're just serving themselves and everything. But how can you even put any kind of faith at all in a government that will pass something like this?
They're doing a show. They're doing a contrived theatrical act, and we're letting them get away with it. When we look at them in Congress, half of these people, they get up and speak with each other. They're doing an act. It's not real. They're doing a show, and they're paid professionals by the corporate United States of America. They're corporate officers.
So they have this little thing. You've heard of the Smith-Mundt Act?
Yes.
And based on your knowledge, what does it provide for?
I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about this.
Well, the Smith-Mundt, and then they had, it actually was originally passed in, it was passed as to amend the United States Information and Educational Exchange Act of 1948 to authorize the domestic dissemination of information and material about the United States intended primarily for foreign audiences and for other purposes. Okay. And that was the Smith-Mundt Act, started out as H.R. 5736 on May 10th, 2012. And that's the Modernization Act. It was originally passed as an amendment to amend the United States Information and Educational Exchange Act of 1948. So all the way back in 1948, they started this nonsense. And what does it do? Interestingly enough, about Section 208, Part B, the domestic distribution of program material says, program material, huh?
Program material, right.
Nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors from engaging in any medium or form of communication, either directly or indirectly, because the United States domestic audience is or may be thereby exposed to program material or based on a presumption of such exposure. Is construed to prohibit. Okay, so nothing. What is what is it? They took a roundabout way of saying it, but what are they saying there?
Very roundabout. This is not written in plain speak at all.
We find that so often, unfortunately.
All that they're saying in that little section is they're just saying they're saying the first word sums it all up. Nothing, because that whole paragraph says we're not going to prohibit the Department of State from engaging in communication directly or indirectly, and they're not even saying to who's the object of communication. They don't even.
They kind of they kind of say right here, because a United States domestic audience, or the American people, in other words, is or may be thereby exposed to such material.
No, but the word there is because. They imply that it's a domestic. You see what I mean? They're implying who the audience is without specifying it. in other words, after the word directly or indirectly, it doesn't say to a United States domestic audience or to a foreign audience. It just says because. In other words, that the meaning of that whole paragraph is subordinate to some other paragraph.
Mhm.
This is such a confabulated mess of verbiage. I can't believe it.
Isn't it crazy?
They purposely wrote it that way too.
They as they do most everything since well, you basically go back to the Civil War, or even before, because we saw what happened in 1812, because a lot of people would have been not eligible for Congress or for government jobs if we took away their ability to act as part of our government if they held a title of nobility from another country. Because we don't confer those on any of our people. I mean, we don't have any titles of nobility here. So where did it come from?
Right. So that whole paragraph is kind of like a disclaimer of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we could go further. If we're brave, we could read further here.
Yeah. I find this next sentence here with the little tag on the end of it there amusing. Mm-hmm. Because it says the almost un-American ACLU views this as a positive step in supporting the First Amendment freedom of speech. Really? Okay, but see where it's coming from? The ACLU.
Right.
Yeah, we know they're a straight up organization, right? We can trust them, right?
Yeah. But they were on top of this right during that same time period, though. They were having communications with people about this.
Yeah, you want to grab this line here?
Sure. Taking the position that I pay for the government to lie me legally. Pay for the government to lie me legally is suicide and wrong. Okay, I think there's a word missing out of that.
Yeah, lie to me.
Lie to me.
Yeah.
The position of support for this by the ACLU is vile. All right.
And then, we move along here. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012 was eventually buried within the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2013, Section 1078 Alpha, passed into public law effective on January 2, 2013, and the SMMA portion amended the United States Information and Educational Act of 1948 and the Foreign Relations Authorization Act of 1987, allowing for materials to be produced by the State Department and the Broadcasting Board of Governors, the BBG, to be available within the United States. So not only it gives them authority to, what kind of things would they be?
I don't know.
Handing out to, to other countries through the State Department and the Broadcasting Board of Governors. Yeah, I'm going to have to dig on that one. I don't know exactly who they are.
I just thought of the same thing. I'm looking it up now.
Okay. Because and to be available within the United States. So, I mean,
what's the harm in that?
Well, when you're dealing with adversaries and, well, I'll just quote Q. Some disinformation might be necessary. Okay. I think would be an appropriate response to that. Disinformation and or propaganda. Okay. Propaganda? You say propaganda? They wouldn't use propaganda on us, would they? Well, then why did they?
Apparently, the Broadcasting Board of Governors is an independent agency of the United States government which operates various state-run media outlets. State-run media outlets.
ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC. Are these all state-run media outlets?
You wouldn't want to think that, would you?
Or are they, well, could they be hired as such?
Well, they aren't directly, but the way it works is, according to this, I could actually figure out a way to send you this link. I'll just read it initially, is both the name of the independent federal agency that oversees all civilian international media and the name of the board that governs those broadcasts. So the keywords there are civilian media. So that's an independent federal agency that oversees civilian media.
Mm-hmm.
So broadcasters within this BBG network include Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, the Middle East Broadcasting Network, Radio Free Asia, the Office of Cuba Broadcasting, etc.
So hence the problem for Americans. How so, you ask? Well, let's consider and recall all of the government-spawned psyops and false flags attacks that have been made against the American people in recent years.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let us count the ways. How about it, chat? Get to
it. What's our image abroad? Right?
Yeah, really. Well, you know, what I've seen is the foreigners have more information about what's actually going on in this country than Americans do.
I think they're also much better at reading between the lines than we are here, shockingly.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to put it out there to chat. What's your favorite false flag or propaganda that you're pretty darn sure of was propaganda? Kennedy assassination. Yes, that's one of the most egregious ones out there. What about what else are you aware of? George Floyd. Yes, I would agree with that. Anybody else in chat? Come on, guys. 9/11. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Mars landing. Well, somebody did say it's all CGI. Safest election ever, of course. Biden as president. The Capitol on January 6th. Las Vegas mass shooting. Operation Sea Spray. Ferguson. The shooting in Orlando. Yeah. Waco. The Oklahoma City federal bombing. Yeah. Bin Laden fake kill. Sandy Hook. There you go. You guys are going.
Quite a few.
Yeah. The beheading. Yeah, the journalist that was beheaded over there on YouTube video. Yeah. Las Vegas, Sandy Hook.
Mike Obama.
Half right said when the earth was round. COVID. Vietnam War. Parkland. Ruby Ridge.
Wow, what a long list of them.
Benghazi. Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Whoa.
The sinking of the Lusitania, Area 51. So the idea of the government being honest with you is kind of, why should we take anything the government says with any measure of truthfulness?
They're such great actors, many of them.
Mm-hmm.
There are some good statesmen, but many of them are such great actors, i.e. con men,
mm-hmm.
women. They
mm-hmm.
really are. It's shocking, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We've been told by that number incremented 1 above 16, you're watching a movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So getting back into this, and yes, I realize there are still Americans who believe that their own crazy uncles are using those darned military guns and are shooting up schools and killing the poor defenseless neighbors' kids. That's what the government wants us to believe and to remember, because DC political neocons, those warmongering fools who are so willing to arm and wage military wars against the rest of the world, really want to disarm the American people, and that's the truth. You want to take this next
Sure. Yep.
paragraph here?
An example of one gun control psyops mass murder school event that immediately comes to mind is the Sandy Hook event. Of course, that allegedly murderous event took place on December 14th, 2012, weeks before the NDAA of 2013 would come into effect. And if we are to believe at least two investigative journalists rather than the government, which is now legally allowed to lie to us, in the opinion of this author, nobody died at Sandy Hook. So the Apollo 13 quote by astronaut Jack Swigert, "Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here," comes to mind. Yes, indeed, Sandy Hook event examination, like 9/11, is a possibly huge PR problem for the government. And here are two journalist links. It'd be interesting to check one of those out. Revisiting and so we can continue. So was the Sandy Hook event legal and covered by the SMMA, or was it illegal? And why are we discussing Sandy Hook? Did anyone at Sandy Hook die or not? Since I was banned for 30 days by Facebook, he writes, a few days ago for posting Jim Fetzer's article, it seems that the Zio-American government and its PR media sycophants like Facebook are still a wee bit sensitive to the legality and or the press-related discussions about the whole PSYOPs event, talking about Sandy Hook. Remember, governments like to operate in secrecy. Isn't that interesting? This is just, to him, it's common sense. Governments like to operate in secrecy. Well, of course, that way they don't have to be accountable, and you don't see their backroom deals, and you don't see the pork that they're piling into a bill, and you don't see, how they're doing things irresponsibly and for their own benefit. Of course, they'd like to operate in secrecy, away from public view. Back in mid-June 2016, I got into some discussions with an international attorney friend about the Smith-Mundt Act and Sandy Hook, and the first thing he wanted me to do was to read the rule of construction. Okay. And this is what is the rule of construction part of anyway, Thumper? Do we know?
This is from the Smith-Mundt Act.
It's in it. It's
yes.
It's okay. All right. So Section 208, clarification on domestic distribution of program material.
And notice how they say program.
Yeah.
Material. Program. The word program.
Right. And who the target is too. Mm-hmm. Domestic. Yeah. Okay. Section A. In general, no funds authorized to be appropriated to the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors shall be used to influence public opinion in the United States. Okay. This section shall apply only to programs carried out pursuant to the United States Information and Educational Exchange Act of 1948. In addition to the U.S. International Broadcasting Act of 1994, and in addition to the Radio Broadcasting Act to Cuba, 1465, et cetera, and to the Television Broadcasting Act of Cuba, section. This section shall not prohibit or delay the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors from providing information about its operations, policies, programs, or program material, or making such available to the media, to the public, or Congress in accordance with other applicable law. What this really is this, how can I describe this? It's almost like a negative argument. It's saying, yep, you won't obstruct us from this. And it's like, I want to say, well, why would I obstruct you from, I'm sure you can say anything you want, but it's like it implicitly implies that it's for our good, that the dissemination of these program materials is to our benefit. And it's actually not. If you know what I'm getting at, they're trying to make it sound like that this is something good for you, and it isn't.
Now,
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, it flip flops on itself, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that we read did the same thing. It flip flopped on itself.
Yes, convoluted.
And that is designed to twist your mind up. And as such, what happens is people will read something like that and just realize that their brain has just been twisted 180 degrees.
Shorted out, exactly. And right there. Look at paragraph B. Why would you write a paragraph if you start off the paragraph with the sentence that says, nothing in this section shall be construed to? Why not just stop right there and say, okay, I am writing this paragraph, this subsection, for the purpose of elucidating and specifying A, B, and C. I am not going to start writing a paragraph that says that nothing in this section shall be construed to.
In other words, turn off your brain. Nothing here means anything.
Right. There's somebody that has to have written a folk song about this. Nothing from nothing.
It's nothing designed to tune you out. Yeah, nothing from nothing.
This is absolute brain twisting, convoluted garbage, and that's French.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Nothing in this section shall be construed. So don't construe anything here, right, or, to prohibit the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors from engaging. So nothing is going to prohibit them from engaging in any medium or form of communication, either directly or indirectly, because the United States domestic audience is or may be thereby exposed to it.
Oh,
okay.
Thumper, this causes mental pain.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does, because it's like, okay, your neighbor's spraying Roundup all over his yard, and your kids are out playing. You have little babies in strollers and everything, and he's just wildly spraying Roundup all over his yard, glyphosate, and he says, nothing I'm doing is going to affect you at all. If it does, it's okay.
Right. I'm trying to convert this language into something that we might try to communicate with each other. I'm trying to, it's my mind doesn't work so illogically, so it's difficult.
Do we communicate like this? Is this the way normal people communicate?
No, because if we did, we would take 10 times the amount of words to say everything that we didn't mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you have to do is, by the process of elimination, you have to say, well, he meant to say it's not this, it's not that, it's not the other thing. So therefore, I have to assume it must be about that 1 out of the 10 things that he didn't say.
Oh, wait a minute. We found the same thing over at the IRS, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
Propaganda and reverse speak, twisted speak. These are evil, devious people that come up with this stuff.
And I got another one too. The Broadcasting Board of Governors. We could reword those 3 words, and we could say the governing board of broadcasters, rather than the Broadcasting Board of Governors, the governor's board of private broadcasters would actually be more closely correct to what it means. Mm-hmm. Because somewhere else they said they do exert their control over independent. I have it in this definition over here on the other thing. Oversees U.S. civilian media. So that is a government organization, a governing board that oversees civilian media.
Mm-hmm.
So even that is convoluted.
This is just insane.
And this is Smith-Mundt modernization.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Signed into law under Obama, just shortly after Sandy Hook.
You got to really, really marvel at how words, without being explicit lies, can actually twist and deceive so much. This is a study in deception.
Absolutely.
Perfectly good words. You could take any one piece, and there's nothing that would be lawsuit worthy or, you know, worthy of any kind of allegation of falsehood. But, oh, wow. It's a lesson for all of us to study things like this. They do this. They get people who write legislation in such convoluted terms as these. Let's see what people are saying out in the chat. Inversion of truth. Yes. Yes. Spells. Yeah. It's almost like it's, I don't know, little demons in there twisting the words around. Right.
Webster Sham, no, Hazel is making a reverse point here. They are trying to tell you in the propaganda out there that pedophilia is normal.
Exactly.
We have to allow it. She's being facetious here. Okay.
Yep.
So no, we are not going to be banning Hazel tonight. Hazel, you're okay. There is no weather warfare. She's pointing out here, these are the things that are being told to us by our government in various different ways. But then you look at what's going on, and it's irrefutable that we're being lied to our face, and we're supposed to just absorb it.
You know what happens when you confuse the language, you confuse the communication enough and put enough, there are essentially a lot of double negatives in here. You put enough of those in there, then what happens is the person's attention span runs out, and they say, well, I couldn't quite understand that. It certainly sounds complex. I don't have the $150 to hire an attorney to interpret it for me, so I'm just going to move on. And so they get it to slide by. And then what do? They take something like this and bury it inside. Didn't they bury this inside something else?
Yeah.
They got this passed. So
it was up here. They mentioned it in the defense spending bill. Yes.
Right. So not only do you make it very convoluted, but then you hide it inside of something bigger, and it's eclipsed. But there it is. There's that language. And what does that empower them to do? That's the key of it, is reading through that and looking at how that was an expansion or a further reach of power. That's what's important.
But it starts out, says nothing.
It says
nothing here. Move along.
Right.
Nothing here. Nothing to see here, folks.
So you just take that and reverse it, and you instead change every one of those double negatives, and it says everything in this section shall be construed to allow the government board of broadcasting to engage in communication directly and indirectly to a United States domestic audience or otherwise, and to expose them to program material. See what I just turned every one of the negatives into a positive.
But it takes a real mental effort to unwind that, to get the true meaning out of what they were doing there.
Yes.
Oh, there she goes again. The devil isn't real. Hazel, quit poking the trolls. For anybody out there that doesn't know Hazel, if you're new to the channel, Hazel has been here for a very, very long time. She is a trusted patriot and a longtime member of our chat. And I love her to death. So all righty.
Sleepwalker just said maybe someone hacked Hazel.
Nothing you see here tonight on that says Hazel L should be construed as being the truth.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, then they invented small print. Oh, they use every trick in the book. You know, distract, confuse. I mean, if lying straight to our face doesn't work, then they come up with these other methods.
Mm-hmm.
Keep us busy, keep you confused, make it so that you don't have time, make it so that you just can't possibly, make it so that they use big words. You need a dictionary to read something, delay it, bury it in something else. They strategically choose the times when they're going to try to get something like this in there,
Mm-hmm.
so that there's some bigger event eclipsing everything, you know. So,
Now, here's another one. Nothing in this section may be construed to authorize the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors to disseminate within the United States any program material prepared for dissemination abroad on or before the effective date of the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012. Then he said, it goes on here. He says, note the final sentence of the above post says, nothing can be disseminated in the U.S. before the effective date of SMMA. The question is, when was that effective date? The date it was passed by the U.S. Congress, or the date that it was signed off by the POTUS as part of the NDAA of 2013.
Yeah.
This may have huge ramifications for Sandy Hook that took place between those two dates because of the 12-year rule under 22 USC 1461 as amended by the NDAA of 2013.
Right. Wow. Look how clever they are.
And here's the text of 22 USC 1461 1A. Clarification on domestic distribution of program material. Current through publication L 114 to 38. See public laws for the current Congress. A, in general, no funds authorized to be appropriated to the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors shall be used to influence the public opinion in the United States. This section shall apply only to programs carried out pursuant to the United States Information and Educational Exchange Act of 1948, 22 USC 1431. That's okay. United States International Broadcasting Act of 1994, blah, blah, blah. The radio broadcasting to keep it. Okay, same thing. This section shall not prohibit or delay the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors from providing information about its operations, policies, programs, or program material, or making such available to the media, public, or Congress in accordance with other applicable law. Then they have a whole nother rule of construction here. And we're supposed to make sense of the laws that they pass for us.
I'll read this just to confuse the absolute crap out of all of us. This is good for us because out of confusion comes something. I'm not sure what.
Headaches.
Nothing in this section. Yeah, it won't take long. We'll be done with the pain in 45 seconds. Nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors from engaging in any medium or form of communication, either directly or indirectly, because a United States domestic audience is or may thereby be exposed to program material or based on a presumption of such exposure. Such material may be made available within the United States and disseminated when appropriate pursuant to sections beep and section 1005 of the United States Information and Education Exchange Act of 1948. Pursuant to those sections, so it refers back to that Educational Exchange Act, except that nothing in this section may be construed to authorize the Department of State or the Broadcasting Board of Governors to disseminate within the United States any program material prepared for dissemination abroad or on or before the effective date of Section 1078 of the NDAA for 2013. So they said that again. That was done for a reason.
You think? Oh, and you wonder why the American people have tuned out. They designed it to tune us out.
We have people whose salaries, whose certainly rather adequate salaries are paid by us to create this stuff. Are you guys kidding me? Really? No.
And you wonder why let's go back to the video I just played. Why would you want to send your money to a government that treats you like this? Why would you want to pay any money to a government that uses this kind of bullshit to twist your brain into knots? Even if you try to figure it out, you need a whiteboard and little pictures and yarn going from this one to that one to this one over here. It's like a crime scene that you're trying to unravel.
Well, I'll tell you, they put a lot of really, really good work into this, and this is all something related to circa Sandy Hook. There's something there.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have done this so artfully and skillfully unless there was something. What are people saying out there? Yeah, hypnotize you into submission. Exactly. Tire you out, make you finally just say, I got to do other things. I'm tuning off of this. I can't figure this out. Right.
Well, let's switch to something let's bring everybody's brains back into
well, this is hyperdrive.
Get them lined up here again. Get all the it's like getting the the magnetic lines. They're kind of jumbled up right now because they've thrown so much BS at you. So let's take a look. I did take the opportunity to click that link on the Sandy Hook thing, and this is what I came up with. Excellent. Okay, revisiting the bait and switch at Sandy Hook. And this was originally published December 16th of 2012. A plot now deepening to disarm and destroy America. Warning, this publication contains information free to the American public, we the people, under the First Amendment. Any information you find offensive or inflicts any emotional response will be doing so at your own risk. This publication has been republished with added updates. We feel it is important to revisit the facts given across multiple media platforms on how this alleged mass murder unfolded to the world and how years later, many articles and reports were redacted, some changed, and many were deleted and or missing. Most of all, the criminals in control of this plot have gone to great lengths to censor and punish those who have questioned the official story. This publication is intended for educational and historical value and justifies its permanent retention for archival value, continuing value, or its enduring value.
Oh, this is going to be a good read.
And then it says fair use, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism. Oh, I think we're right in our ballpark here. Mm-hmm. Comment. Oh, definitely. News reporting, fake news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Fair use is a legal doctrine that promotes freedom of expression by permitting the unlicensed use of copyrighted protected works in certain circumstances. Section 107 of the Copyright Act provides a statutory framework for determining whether something is a fair use and identifies certain types of uses, such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research as examples of activities that may qualify for fair use. I think we'll just rely on criticism and comment
first too. Yeah, we need, in order to fulfill the requirements of that Copyright Act, we need to criticize and comment robustly. Because that's what's provided. It specifies that that's what we're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you want to begin here?
Okay. First paragraph. Here we go. It was another sad time in the nation, and the grieving process began after the alleged lone wolf gunman, 20-year-old Adam Lanza, allegedly went on a mass murdering rampage at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut on December 14, 2012. It was reported 26 people were dead, mostly children, the mother of the suspect, and the suspect himself. From the beginning, the scripts were arranged, rearranged, collaborated, and then published. It was like watching a comprehensive, well-written script produced live before our eyes that wintry morning on a theatrical stage of a thrilling fictional storyline. You want to go?
Okay. Those without 3D glasses could only think, let the psyop begin. This particular shooting, there is overwhelming evidence presented by the truthful citizen journalists that Americans are not buying the official story after weeks of being terrorized by mass shooting active shooter events. AP, press, and mainstream media then report the events filled with tragedy scripts intertwined with gun control debates and calling for more mental health agenda, mostly sponsored by Giffords Law Center, the ADL, and the, oh, look who's involved here, the Southern Poverty Law Center, all sponsoring criminalizing speech, removing weapons from Americans, and demanding legislation for anti-Semitism laws. Oh, are we still on that? We're still on that bandwagon, aren't we? Every one of those things. Look at that. Criminalizing speech. What are we doing here? How much you want to bet that this video, when I upload it to YouTube, gets banned?
Yep. All of it. Removing weapons, efforts to do so, efforts to censor speech. And just as an aside, the SPLC is up to their eyeballs in pulling puppet strings, you know, all over the place. Okay, here's a paragraph. These highly militarized operations include using fear and children to psychologically hack the minds of Americans to surrender their weapons. This psychopathology coding targets the vulnerability of women, the feminization of men, and the indoctrinated youth. This coding script targets the youth into believing the Bill of Rights is no longer necessary and the Constitution is just a bleep damn piece of paper, as George Bush Sr. told Americans one time. Did he really say that?
Yes, he did.
He did. Wow. Tasteless.
The guy had two faces. One was purely evil. The other one was a kindly old grandpa.
Yeah, that is absolutely nothing that any president and chief officer of this country should ever say, nor is it anything that the president should ever say going on national television as Barack Obama said, the police acted stupidly. No, well, you don't say that. You don't do that.
He was the acting director of the CIA, you know.
Well, yeah.
Right after he was the he was the top guy in the Republican Party. What do they call it? Chairman of the Republican Party as well.
Oh, Senate Majority Leader?
No. He was I think they just call him the chairman of the Republican Party. I think that was his title. But
I didn't know he had that title. This is George Sr., obviously.
Yes.
Let's continue. Let's keep our momentum going here. We only have 38 minutes to get through this.
After researching and digesting the questionable information about the shooting reported across the mainstream media and Associated Press platforms, and a call out to the Associated Press for all their efforts in reporting information, fact or fiction, one has to ask the following questions. Was the 2012 shooting at Sandy Hook School really a well-coordinated, militarized inside intelligence operation involving law enforcement, EMS workers, firefighters, government agencies, and crisis actors coordinated to launch a successful attempt to disarm Americans? Gee, I never thought that once when I saw that. Did you?
Actually, I did.
I was being facetious. Are they targeting the youth to inflict emotional response to support unconstitutional gun control legislation? You think? Or
Yeah.
was it really a lone gunman that went on a disgruntled rampage because of his mental illness or lack of mental illness problem?
Just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like this kid was going to do that. Okay. Immediately following this shooting, Connecticut and New Jersey enacted some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. They presented Americans with a screenplay that communities all across America were willfully turning in their weapons. Government-sponsored buyback programs were enacted, and disarmament was launched on the greatest scale ever in the history of America. One more. Our entire government has been taken over by dual Israeli-American citizens. Militarized training has been discovered, suggesting our own sheriffs and law enforcements are being sent to Israel for active shooting training. Has our greatest ally, Israel, become America's most infiltrated enemy? Well, that's new thought for me.
Now, what, here, look at the picture here.
What a pile.
What a, amazing pile of guns. Now, supposedly, I would guess that the headline or the tagline or the description of this photo is thousands of American people disgusted with the school shootings are racing over and turning in all of their guns.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what about this as the real tagline on this photo? Hey, George, is that truck here yet with all the guns? Yeah, we're going to bring them in. We're going to set them up here and stack them up all real big and everything. And then we're going to tell the article will say thousands of people are turning in their guns. You need to too.
Mm-hmm. They're all stacked so neatly, aren't they?
And look, most of them are hunting guns, grandpa's guns, whatever. Right. But I would go as far as asking, did people really turn in their guns like this? Did they really turn in their guns? Or was this?
I would
was this
to say that your average gun owner would say, well, okay, you certainly made me think about my firearm and firearms and firearm safety, and I know how to handle it. I know how to use it responsibly, and I'm glad I thought about it. No, thank you. I'm going to keep my gun, but it's never going to be used for anything of an awful purpose such as this. So yeah, I'll keep my gun. Thank you very much.
So the next paragraph here, immediately following the Newtown school shooting, more unanswered questions have surfaced that should be alarming to we the people. Associated Press continues to put their script out to the public and continues to change it faster than the readers and the writers and the researchers can keep up with. Like many other mass shootings, the evidence starts out with two or more shooters and then ends up with the lone wolf gunman. Most who conveniently turn the gun on themselves in the end and commit suicide. 5 months prior to the shooting, Janet Napolitano, America's Homeland Security, big sis at the time, had previously warned that the lone gunman would be visiting the schools, the malls, and the movie theaters. Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano says the lone wolf threat is a top concern, CNN's Suzanne Kelly reports. I can just sit back in my chair now and replay what must have been discussed right before this operation went live. Hey, George, Fox just sent me a text. The script writers want to go over the angles that make sure they use the most possible fear tactics for this operation. Okay, Jody, as long as there are little to no mistakes, this is a live drill, not something that can be edited out until later in the day. Remember the key words: wacky survivalist, gun obsession, avid shooter, serial killer, crazy, terrorism, and assault rifle, and the rest of the list you were given earlier. You want to read this next one here?
Sure. However, call over to HuffPo and tell them, Huffington Post, and tell them I was told we're dumping the autism angle. There are too many vaccinated, damaged children and elderly, and the focus can't be on the researchers finding out about the truth on that one. From now on, Adam has Asperger's syndrome, and insist that they sign a contract. They will define the syndrome from the Adam Encyclopedia. Later, after he commits suicide and always is remembered as the psychopathic school children murderer of Newtown, we'll get paid from our sponsors from the medical agenda.
Okay, George, but our team and CNN can't stretch it as far as they want it to go, because later, after the body allegedly had an autopsy and then claimed by the father, the medical establishment is going to say they're going to study Adam's DNA to isolate the evil gene for future legislation to introduce hate speech and hate crime laws, and force future gun owners to give blood and take a mental health exam to determine if they qualify for a weapon. Where have we seen that? Is that showing its ugly head right now?
Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
Yep.
Anybody home? Anybody home? Knocking on the door. Okay, continue.
Yep. The FBI just called and demands more legislation in the works right now so that CT can be disarmed immediately. Focus on mental illness and the assault rifle. We already bushwhacked all the sheriffs in the state and blamed it on the citizens. They are just our paper boys now. Make sure the examiner's office takes Wayne out for breakfast and gives him prostitutes and scotch so he won't be too nervous. He's a maintenance player.
Oh, George, the world is not going to believe all this overwhelming script.
Well, I got news for you. You won't have a job if we don't get paid from our sponsors, and we've already lost hundreds of thousands of readers and millions of dollars because of our last biggest active shooter false flag, starring Gabrielle Giffords, astronaut Mark Kelly, and Jared Lee Loeffner, had too many exposed lies. We can't afford more mistakes. We must get all the moves perfect this time.
Okay, George, but I want to know how we are supposed to convince the public using only a photoshopped, crazy-looking, deranged psychopath. The Loeffner script didn't start out well with his photoshopped picture and then suddenly changed immediately by the U.S. Marshals to look like Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well, Loeffner is never going to be seen again, and no live shots of him were released, but just a remembrance of a crazy, mentally ill 22-year-old who went on a rampage. Adam will commit suicide at the scene, so there's no remembrance except for the few photos the IT department are working on right now.
What should I tell the NRA?
Tell them we're ditching the video game angle, and they will get their PR they demand.
And years later, the official narrative keeps changing and evolving to include more legislation, more mental health agenda, more memorial holidays to remember, and more flags to lower. More compartmentalized studies of psychology have been launched to study how to hack the mind. Pieces were cut, pasted, and arranged until the official story was perfected. The complete, detailed script of a mentally challenged and reclusive young man with no friends who had not spoken to his brother in years, nor has ties anymore with his father. A story where Adam just decided one December morning to kill his mother and go to Sandy Hook School in her car loaded with an arsenal of weapons. A man that was allegedly let into the elementary school by the principal and began his killing rampage on a class of first graders, killing others, and then commits suicide.
That is just crazy. Okay. Adam Lanza, there's his picture right there. The suspect, the family, and the Sandy Hook production. At first, it was reported that Ryan Lanza, 24, was the shooting suspect, but soon the information was scrubbed. And now we're told that it was 20-year-old Adam Lanza, Ryan Lanza's younger brother. The official story reported by law enforcement and media claimed they mistakenly identified the suspect as Ryan. Other reports clarified that Adam had Ryan's ID on him. Ryan was allegedly questioned in Hoboken, New Jersey, where law enforcement determined that he was not involved. Ryan claims he had not been in contact with his brother since 2010. Ryan's friend, former Jersey AP journalist Brett Wilshie, claims that Lanza told him that the gunman may have had his identification. according to MyFox 8. It is unclear how Adam had Ryan's identification when he claimed he had not seen his brother in almost 2 years. Ryan, the older brother, referred to his brother as the gunman to a close friend rather than calling him his brother. Curious. Ryan also allegedly posted on Facebook, "It wasn't me, and I was at work." The family later claims that Ryan's Facebook was hijacked. And an impersonator behind Ryan Lanza's Facebook page, falsely claiming to be the Newtown shooter's brother. The New York Post published his official Ryan Lanza Facebook page, but now it's expired. Oh, Ryan chose a Facebook name titled official.ryanlanza01. When searching the Wayback Machine, there was only one archive in 2013, and no other archives of the page can be found.
Sounds like it might have been planted.
Put there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Pictures and various information.
Yeah.
That looks like that's his mom.
Yeah, Nancy Lanza. Okay. Initially,
crazy. Yeah.
The girlfriend was reported missing along with a friend, according to KPLU. One of the officials said earlier Friday that a girlfriend of one of the Lanza brothers and another friend were missing in New Jersey. Subsequently, the third official said police had talked with the girlfriend. One of the friends had to be reached in California, so it took time. One of the Lanza brothers? Why did they fail to report it was Adam's girlfriend or Ryan's girlfriend? If Adam was a loner and didn't have any friends, then we could assume he did not have a girlfriend. But if Ryan was detained for questioning in New Jersey, it was more than likely they were looking for the missing girlfriend of Ryan Lanza. However, the girlfriend was immediately scrubbed from the Sandy Hook story, so it is unclear just exactly who she was and why she was considered missing.
Mm-hmm.
It is assumed through released FBI documents that Ryan was interviewed the morning of the shooting. However, while reading the redacted named documents, the story flows just like the mainstream on the day of the shooting, suggesting the script was being played, and Ryan is referred to as an actor in one of the police reports. Shooting happened at the Sandy Hook.
There's the report. Yeah.
He said that the actor lived at 1313. Why didn't they just put Mockingbird Lane? Okay. I'm sorry. Grand Street, Hoboken, New Jersey, apartment 202. We went to that location to secure the perimeter of the building along with the apartment. Once we arrived at the apartment door, Sergeant Labruno knocked to see if anyone was at home, and no one answered the door. So, yeah, he said that the actor, all right. It is also reported that the alleged murderer, now identified as the younger brother, Adam Lanza, was led into the school with his weapons and went on a chilling rampage, killing 20 children and 6 adults, his mother, and then himself. These weapons allegedly were registered to Nancy Lanza, the suspect's dead mother. Nancy was originally reported by the press. She worked at the school, but later these accusations were denied. However, there were many reports still published with these claims. It was then reported that she was a substitute teacher now, but then that was scrubbed. She was reported to be found dead at her upscale home in Connecticut, where suspect Adam Lanza lived. She allegedly was shot in the face by her 20-year-old son before he went on his killing spree at the Sandy Hook school. Why? Okay, over to you.
Well, doesn't it just seem like it doesn't really hang together that well?
It gets more bizarre. If you watch any of the video from this thing, it even gets more bizarre.
Well, let's go deeper. According to Breitbart, Lanza had Asperger's syndrome and another personality disorder based on an ABC News report. He was described by neighbors as being odd, having obsessive compulsive disorder, and being a loner. Breitbart also reported Nancy Lanza taught kindergarten at the school. According to Penn State Hershey's ADAM Encyclopedia, Asperger's syndrome is often considered a high-functioning form of autism. It can lead to difficulty interacting socially, repeat behaviors, and clumsiness. Hans Asperger labeled this disorder autistic psychopathy in 1944. The cause is unknown. More than likely, an abnormality in the brain is the cause of Asperger's syndrome, and the condition appears to be more common in boys than in girls. Although people with Asperger's syndrome often have difficulty socially, many have above average intelligence. They may excel in certain fields, such as computer programming and science. Okay. Interestingly, Adam Lanza is described as being gifted, as many autistic people are often gifted in certain areas. It was reported on several platforms that Adam withdrew from school and did not have many friends, but enjoyed computers and being with his mom. He was also said to be a nerd. According to Business Insider, the 20-year-old suspected of America's worst mass school shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary in Connecticut was a nerd who enjoyed playing online computer games.
It was reported Adam Lanza at one time had seen Dr. Paul L. Fox, psychiatrist, during his high school years. Interestingly enough, according to New Times, Dr. Fox surrendered his license after being accused of sexually assaulting a woman. He then fled the country and is now living in New Zealand. It is intriguing that in the 2011 Safeway shooting, the media played for weeks on the mind control script that Jared Lee Loughner had a lack of mental illness diagnosis and failed to investigate the truth, or purposely failed to report that Jared Loughner had actually been treated for mental issues by a psychologist. Many alleged shooters have the same common factor of seeing a mental health professional.
Jeez, this psychiatrist is a real piece of work too, huh? What are the chances that nothing good happened to the young man in interacting with the psychiatrist?
Probably slim to none.
Faculty of mental profession, none, right? Okay. In an article published in 2012 titled "So Long, Loughner, a Life Sentence for a Framed Patsy," Jared, the Tucson Safeway shooter, saw a psychologist by the name of Dr. Thomas Britton in 2007. He had a private practice in Tucson and was later subcontracted by the Department of Defense. Dr. Britton died following the shooting just 2 weeks prior to the death of Gabrielle Gifford's author, Jeffrey Zaslow, columnist and former employee of Wall Street Journal and the Sun Times. Zaslow was killed in a car accident. Wow. For those who are unaware, Gabrielle Giffords was the congresswoman allegedly shot by Jared Loughner, who took the position after the shooting as an extreme gun control advocate, and is in the forefront of gun control and plays an important role after every suspicious false flag event. The media suppressed the killing of Judge John Roll, who was one of the 6 shot dead Saturday morning. Questions. Incongruous events that don't hang together coherently.
It's just enough to, again, just twist your mind up so you will just accept anything that they tell you, or flat out deny whatever they tell you. You know,
you'd think that if they were going to contrive something, they could actually do a better job.
You would think.
You'd think. But they don't expect that people are looking very hard, do they?
No, they boil it down to 4 or 5 second sound clips, right? And a few well-placed video shots and still shots with cameras in place. So
well-staged, well-placed, yep.
Oh, wait a minute. That couldn't happen. Oh, wait, it just did on January 6th at the Capitol, because there was a woman that was shot there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. According to an article written by the Daily Mail last night, it also emerged Nancy was a member of the Doomsday Preppers movement. Oh, so it's okay if she gets killed, right? Which believes people should prepare for future catastrophes. Her former sister-in-law, Marcia, said she had turned her home into a fortress. She added, Nancy had a survivalist philosophy, which is why she was stockpiling guns. She had them for defense. She was stockpiling food. She grew up on a farm in New Hampshire. She was skilled with guns. She talked about preppers and preparing for the economy collapsing. Of course, this script is in perfect alignment with the advertising going on around the internet to stock up. And so it would be fair to say the government is on the lookout for those stocking up.
Oh, boy.
What is a doomsday prepper anyway? They are referring to people who overstock on items and food, just like our grandparents did, due to a financial crisis or someone that actually thinks war or hard times are coming. We do know that Nancy was really a prepper, but we can assume if she had a lot of money that she probably stocked up on several items.
I'm worried about being arrested someday for canning.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you have more than 2 cans of soup in your pantry,
You're hoarding.
You might be one of them.
Yep.
You might be a redneck.
Yep. or at least inordinately hoarding stuff. Now, you remember when we had the toilet paper shortage? I don't actually know anybody that just went out and hoarded like 1 million dozen bales of toilet paper. Like after there was none there, people started to panic and say, well, geez, I can't get any. But I don't know anybody that had a standard practice of hoarding toilet paper. Not really.
I didn't see people, I saw people grabbing a couple of, packages or something because, did they? That is the most insane thing ever that I have seen ever. And
it's almost illogical. It's almost illogical to make a connection between the onset of an unexpected virus, quote unquote, plague, that you're going to go out and hoard toilet paper.
Hazel wants to know, what do you can, by the way?
What do I can? Tomatoes, peppers, pickles. Turn cucumbers into pickles. That's really handy because I like pickles and they keep really well a long time.
Oh yeah.
I did some blueberry preserves once in my life and they came out fantastic. First time ever. Never did it again since. They came out super good. It's all in getting good blueberries, but we digress.
Thistlestick says he's canning toilet paper now.
Oh, great. Great. Make sure you get the proper pickling spice for that.
There you go. Yeah. Not too hot now.
No,
spicy toilet paper, not a good idea.
Yeah, we like it, you don't want it to. Yeah, never mind. Oh boy. So she had a retired. Let's see, where are we here? Several items. Okay. Nancy was reported by her brother to be a stockbroker, not a teacher. Some have reported just financial industry ties. CNN stated Nancy Lanza had earlier worked in finance in Boston and Connecticut. A friend who knew her well but didn't want her name published. Nancy Lanza had retired or was on a break from her career, but she was not a teacher, the friend said. She allegedly lived alone with her son, had guns, and taught her kids how to practice shoot, and was a prepper. Homeschooled Adam after removing him from the school system, and could have been unemployed at the time of the shooting. She apparently liked beer and hung out at the local bar, as acquaintance Dan Holmes reported to the media. So she's a prepper. She likes to drink beer. She likes to, take apart, clean, reassemble, and practice shoot guns, instruct the kids on how to use them. And Holmes, who owns a landscaping business, also said Nancy was a gun collector and that she showed off a rifle she had recently purchased. So she knows her firearms and she appreciates good ones. Okay.
Adam's father, Peter Lanza, was reportedly paying his mother, Nancy, over $240,000 a year as part of the divorce settlement from Peter Lanza, who at the time was reported as an executive at General Electric. Nancy was also reported to have loved landscaping and gardening. However, according to the publicly released divorce decree, it says Nancy and Peter are both to remain the property owners of their home in Sandy Hook as part of the divorce, but that Nancy is to sell the home and move out before February 28, 2011. The shooting happened December 14th, 2012. Several initial reports claimed no one was living in the home. Was Nancy already moved out of the home? This document, which is shady anyway, because half the document looks legal and half of it says it is a draft. And I have a feeling this is probably a link to the document.
With any luck, it's still there onscribed. Continuing. Nancy Lanza's sister-in-law, Marcia, revealed that Nancy Lanza had traveled to 9 cities in 3 countries because she wanted out of the mansion she shared with her troubled son, Adam. And could have known the end was coming, according to the Daily Mail. Unfortunately, Marcia died in 2016, so no more questions can be asked. What did she die of? I forgot. However, the ATF Special Assistant Agent Jean Marquez said, "We have not been able to uncover any evidence that the mother and the son were actively engaged in going to the gun ranges, practicing marksmanship, or anything of that nature." Initially, USA Today reported the shooter's parents have been both found dead in their New Jersey home. New Jersey, parents, Ryan Lanza, the brother, was reportedly questioned in New Jersey the morning of the shooting.
I got to step away real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll read this. Okay, so the father, Peter Lanza. Peter Lanza is, or at the time, was an executive president at GE Capital. Apparently a very high-paying job, if the divorce settlement is $240,000 a year for I don't know how long. According to numerous reports, Peter Lanza drove to New Jersey to talk to the FBI and the police. Neither Peter nor his oldest son were said to be under suspicion at the time, even though he was identified first as being the suspect. Both Peter and his eldest son, Ryan, work at the accounting giant Ernst & Young. Ryan followed his father's footsteps and worked in the industry for approximately 4 years. Okay. Tax practice is the firm's specialty. According to Hollywood Gossip, Ryan is a tax guy, and he's clean as a whistle. Only the tax man. So it's not a simple observation of a family. There's really a lot of things there. I kind of puzzle over the idea of deciding to go and travel abroad for a period of weeks or months. I puzzle over a lot of things in here. And the other thing that sticks in my mind is within the family, there's a very successful executive making a lot of money at GE Capital. So those are the things that just kind of stick in my mind. So I finished that paragraph.
Okay. Well, we're running out of time here. So let's kind of put a cap on tonight's discussion here.
You're watching a movie.
We are being subjected to any number of schemes and lies and half-truths, no truths, with maybe a little sprinkling of truth in there. Like, there's ink on the paper that they wrote it with.
Right.
Other than that, what can you believe? What can you take away from this? And that is truth. It's it's being just hammered in order to create what? Where do we start tonight? With fear, doubt, and then we saw how the legislation is just used to just twist your mind around so you either
confound straight thinking.
Absolutely. Confound is an awesome word.
Right.
So when the government won't admit that there's a possibility of aliens, what about the possibility of advanced technologies that are out there? What about, what kind of things are being hidden away? And in the meantime, they're dumping this kind of stuff on you on a daily basis by the bucket load.
We're actually pretty amazing. We are. We should all give ourselves just a moment of acknowledgement for what's kind of become an athletic exercise of mental acuity that so many of us have learned and really appreciate being able to do. And it helps us to understand these things. I'm just going to put a little note out there in the chat right now, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I just think on a regular basis, and we all know it. So yeah, just acknowledging that we are honing our skills of piecing the disjointed facts together as they've tried to spread them out all over the board and throw them down in chaos on the table. We are getting good at organizing these things.
So let's take a look at what's happened most recently. And like you said, Trump won. All right. But what have we been, is it reasonable to assume that that was it was another operation, but the sheer in your face, it affects everybody, not just gun owners, not just people who have kids in schools. This affects everyone. You all, let's say what it was. This election probably. What do you think the percentage of the population that legally could and legally did vote in this past election?
Out of the entire U.S. population?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Somewhere around 160 million.
Okay.
My guess, 150, 160.
Well,
how many voted for Donald Trump? Maybe 100 million.
So what
do you guys think?
What is the normal participation rate in an election of late?
30%.
30%.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think what was the percentage in this past election?
Big turnout. The incumbent, the past president, Donald J. Trump, he got a participatory mandate from the population of this country. Mm-hmm. People turned out. Light switch said 80 million.
Mm-hmm.
Light switch, do you mean 80 million voted for DJT or 80 million total? I'm going to say many more turned out to vote than just 80.
Mm-hmm.
Myself.
So we had an incredible turnout. Why was that? Because people were tired of the bullshit, and people had absolutely, and it was designed that way. Trump campaigned in order to engage as many people as possible for several different reasons. One was the massive turnout would create a situation where they had to just over the top throw away all of the idea that they could hide behind this similar bull crap that we just saw from the Adam Lanza story.
Donald Trump was
he
was able to win the confidence of people across the board from mm-hmm. many different levels of demographics, different minorities, different people, independents, conservatives, Hispanics, blacks, you name it. He won greater resonance and confidence with more people than I can even remember when it happened that big.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what we saw here in Washington State with Lauren Culp running for governor here. I was out there delivering signs to people who said, I gave up voting. I'm going to start voting again. Or young people who had been authorized to vote, old enough to vote for the last couple of cycles and never did because they didn't believe in it. We're mm-hmm. actually going to come out and vote this time. And I mean, the engagement was absolutely over the top. And so we,
you guys in the chat, how many people do y'all think actually voted in the election? Just total voters, first of all, out of 330 million people, how many do you think in this country voted for real? 100 million, 90, 120? 70% voted.
Eligible voters, I guess. Yeah.
103. Yeah, Val Hale said 125 million.
Mm-hmm.
Half the country. Sure. 120, 130. Sure. Okay. And 10 to 100,000 people show up at Donald Trump rallies on a regular basis, and between 10 and 500 show up at a Joe Biden rally. Okay. So apply that percentage to how many people might have voted for one versus the other. Knowing everything that we know what happened. We know we have to see it through. If nothing else, we're going to hang on to the truth that we know. That's just my opinion. I'm not telling anybody what to do.
I agree. So when you start looking at all of the stuff that's going on in our world right now, just remember that it's that lack of knowledge that they're counting on through any number of mechanisms which we have displayed on tonight's show. The confounding of the words, the reverse sentences that are designed to cancel your mind from thinking and disrupt that logical process that you would expect a document to have. It's all written to just twist you up and make you stop thinking for yourself. And now, folks, it's time to start thinking for yourselves. Gather the information together. Use your discernment. If you pray, if you're pray for wisdom and the ability to discern for yourself based on information that you have dug into to get the truth for yourself. That's the only way we're going to turn this stuff around, because what's coming is going to blow your socks off, because they wouldn't go to such lengths to, twist you up and turn you inside out if they weren't trying to hide something away from you.
Yep. Could I add one little, just a little thing to that?
Please.
Is the things that we need to be able to understand, they make it hard for us to be able to figure out. We got to work our ass off to try to get through, 16 paragraphs of convoluted poppycock. All right. And then the things that they want us to digest so easily and smoothly, they present to us repeatedly by way of the mainstream media machine. And they repeat it and drill it into everybody's head. So that's easy and it's repeated. But those things that we really need to know, oh no, they make that next to impossible. But you know what? We're onto it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for a wonderful show tonight, Indy. I'm so happy that you were able to make it in tonight. And
me too. Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank everybody, all you guys out there. I read everything you write out there.
I try to catch as much of it as I can. And you guys are awesome again tonight. So thank you, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you please take your seats and make sure your seat backs and your tray tables are in the upright position. If you have any gear floating around the cabin, please make sure you grab it up and stow it appropriately. And we're going to turn this little ship around and get her back to our point of departure. So please buckle your seatbelts, and we're off. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived back at our point of departure. If you would please, once we come to a full stop, please make sure you grab all your gear and take it with you, and we